You're still too old for me.
We'll grow old together. I'll just do that a little sooner than you. After a while, it won't really matter. Hello. How are you?
Walter, there is someone in my mind. I'm trying to figure out who it is.
It's just me. It's just Walter.
I still don't like it.
What?
Dad's been dead for 15 years.
Does it bother you that your mother's talking to a computer program or that a computer program is pretending to be your dad?
Well, you're a good Walter, either way.
Thank you.
Creeps me out.
It's how she remembers him.
I don't want to get you in trouble.
You learn, I like that.
She's nicer to that thing than she is to me.
It's your father that she's being nicer to. Are you jealous?
Your poor old mother was born in the 20th century. Try to be patient with me. I'm not that far gone.
When you remember something, you remember the last time you remembered it. So it's always getting fuzzier, like a photocopy of a photocopy.
I'll remember that now.
Do you have emotions, or do you just remember hours?
You're a fine woman, Marjorie.
Emma.
It's a shame you can't drink. It'd loosen you up.
I'm not getting better, am I? Walter. No, not you. I don't want you. I want Walter.
Petty infringements, compromise, betrayal. All relationships are impossible.
Oh, Marjorie. The things you forget. Stay with me a while.
I'll be right here, Marjorie. I have all the time in the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lois Smith, let's hear it. Lois, congratulations on this film.
Thanks.
Michael Almereyda is one of my favorite directors. I think he's a wonderful director, and this film is no different. It's beautiful, it's touching, it's heartbreaking, and it's got a wonderfully controlled hand guiding it along. What made you want to be a part of this project?
I've done the play. The film is based on a play of Jordan Harrison's, Marjorie Prime, which I first did it in Los Angeles a couple of years ago, and then more recently at Playwright's Horizons. Just before the Playwright's Horizons production went into rehearsal, we shot the film on Long Island. So it's for me, an extraordinary, kind of once in a lifetime. This doesn't happen very often. And
yeah, what does that feel like? Did shooting the film in between the play's performances affect or change how you ended up doing the play later, or did it feel different?
Well, you know, it's always an ongoing thing, and I became aware of how important actors always know it's the moment, but I guess I had a sense of how related they are. The moment in rehearsal, the moment on the camera, and I was more aware of that than of the difference, which I've often been aware of doing a play and doing a film. This film, I love this film. I hope you will go see it, and see it in a theater, because that's how it should be seen, on a big screen. And I think, oh my goodness, people are going to watch it, not only on their, on their iPad or their phone or their watch. I'm so glad it's going to be at the theater. It's opening Friday night. This is all new. It's really terrific. It's opening in New York and Los Angeles Friday night at the Quad here. And go see it.
Yeah, absolutely go see the film. It's wonderful. You know, one of the things that you just talked about for the actor is being in the moment, right? And you said you have the moment in rehearsal, the moment when you're filming, finding that moment. How often, and is it a rule to not do this if you find a moment in rehearsal that you like to try to recreate that moment later when you're on stage or shooting?
Well, when you find something that really seems true and valuable, I suppose one recreates it, but maybe more importantly, recreate what made it happen. If if you're lucky and able to do that, that's the best stuff. If it actually does spring out of what nourishes it, the moments. Yeah.
Now, did you? I don't want to give away any of the surprises in this film, because one of the wonderful aspects of this film is how it turns.
Yes.
But is this something that you've ever thought about? In terms of having someone who has passed away, with having them close to you in the form of a hologram or anything like that, or being able to retain the memory of someone?
No, nothing. Never thought about it. People say, "Oh well, would you like to have a?" It takes place like 50 years in the future, and while it's not a sci-fi film in the sense of investigating the technology, it is assuming an artificial intelligence creature who is programmed and able to be a companion. But what it's about is people's relationships and memory very much, and families. And so Jordan once said he wished to combine or wed humanity and technology, and I think he really did.
Memory is like you said, is really what it's about, and it's about how in families we all have different memories of situations in the past and perspectives on why something and how something happened, and who our parents or who our children are in relation to us, right? Like I might remember a moment with my parents much differently than they remember it.
Absolutely, yes. You might remember nothing, or there might be versions that are not like each other. Yes, yeah.
And a lot of the film is there's a lot of beautiful monologues, and I mean maybe it's because that comes from it's from a play, but really just an incredible monologues.
I think the language is just wonderful. I love the text, and I'd been living with this text for a few years actually before I made the film, so I felt very fortunate in that way.
So you could shoot probably pretty quickly because
We did shoot quickly. We really did, yeah.
Everybody probably had to really know their lines very well.
I was lucky in that respect because there were a few changes, of course, but basically it was the lines I'd been living with for me, yeah.
What's it like translating a character from stage to film?
In the script, there was a lot of translating done for me. In the play took place in a room in a house, and I spent most of the time in a recliner. I wasn't immobile, but that's where I was. I occasionally walk, but in the film, that's not the case at all. It takes place in a house near the beach, and I was never confined to any kind of bed or recliner. I was in and out of the house, the beach, the porch, the pool, the rooms. So that's a huge difference in fact, concept, and physical truth, yeah.
Is that a difference in how you end up playing the character as well? Because maybe she's a bit more confrontational at times, or she has a bit more strength?
I don't feel that way. I guess, because I was aware of that she didn't walk very well. I didn't think about that much when I was playing it in a recliner, because it wasn't the point. But, yeah.
But in the film, it becomes part of her. Yeah. You've done not just the original Marjorie Prime on stage, you've been a part of some incredible theatrical works. I mean,
I have.
You reprised the role of Hallie in the recently late Sam Shepard's Buried Child. You were nominated for a Tony for that. You originated a role in one of his plays, right?
Yes.
Since he unfortunately just passed away the last couple weeks, what was it like working with Sam Shepard as a playwright?
Really, I've been so lucky. I first met Sam when we were both in the same movie together, not acting together, a movie called Resurrection, which was a long time ago. I'm not so great on dates and the passage of time, which is another thing Marjorie Prime is about, the passage of time. And Sam was such a kind person. That was when I first met him. On a day off, he took everybody, not everybody, but a few of us, into Austin, the city he loved, to a restaurant he liked, and that was very pleasant. And then probably the next real encounter was, I had seen the play Buried Child years before when it was first new and done in New York, and Gary Sinise in the Steppenwolf Company asked me to read it, to do it again, and Sam wanted to work on it. So we had what I think was an extraordinary production. It's one of the things I really treasure in the intensity and I think it was an unusual piece of work, and that we did it proud. Sam was with us in the rehearsals in Chicago, and then we did it on Broadway. He was with us again. So I got to know him then, and I think he was extremely proud of it too. Many years later, I was at a screening, and we were on the way to a party, and I saw Sam on the street, and he said, "I'm writing a play with a part for you." Well, isn't that perfectly wonderful to hear? But then I thought, well, believe it when you see it. But he was one of the playwrights at the Signature Theater, where a playwright is given a whole year of his work, old and new, being done, and it was the new building, the Signature Theater's new building on 42nd Street. And Jim Houghton, who was the artistic director, called it. He said, "Yes, it's true. He's written a part for you," and that was very exciting.
And you still do work with new playwrights or playwrights at the Signature Theater. We were just talking about this backstage, right? We were talking about John, the Annie Baker play that you did.
Yes.
And she is a Signature Theater playwright in residence.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people talk about her work because it's very different, the way that she writes language, the way that she has characters talk. It's almost hyper-naturalistic at times, but still somehow finding this odd poetry.
There's something about her I don't understand. I mean, the effect that her work has on me, I really can't get to the bottom of it. It's powerful in a very personal and particular way. I love it.
Yeah, what is it like performing those words?
Well, I've only been in one of her plays, and I found it a most unusual part, but really, really a lot of fun. I was blind, I was mad, or ex-mad. Yeah.
Like I said, you've been in a part of so many productions, be them film or theater. Do you have one in particular that you remember as just the best thing that you felt you've done?
There are a few that are particularly precious to me. Buried Child is one, but maybe if I had to pick one, it might be Wharton Foote's Trip to Bountiful, which is certainly not a new play when I did it. Wharton was with us. Oh, what a gallant and wonderful person. He was with us all the time. He loves actors. I found it really remarkable. This play was first done in '53 on television and on the Broadway stage. It was maybe, I think I got the year right, but it was an enormous number of years between then and our production of it in New York about 10 years ago. So Wharton had lived with this play for so long, and it had been a wonderful movie, and he'd had how many productions? Lillian Gish was his first. Now I can't say her name.
His Lillian Gish?
No, the character.
Oh, okay.
Carrie Watts.
Okay.
Carrie Watts.
That's amazing that you remember the characters'
While
names.
we were in rehearsal, Wharton, when they said we could do this without an intermission. It was written as a 3-act play of many sets, and he'd been through all that. And isn't that remarkable? And we did. He made some cuts, which were wonderful, and we did it as a 90-minute or so play with a production that moved. Harris Yulin directed it really beautifully, and it just moved magically. And the one set into another. Harris said, when I first talked with him about it, we've known each other for years, but our first conversation about the play, he said, the journey should never, the trip begins and she should never be off stage. So it just moved. And my favorite moment was stepping from a set that was disappearing upstage, stepping down and being in the building, the bus station around me. It's one of those, when those things happen, when everything works together, the set design, the people who are making it happen, the text itself, the writer, that's the best. That's when theater is really, really a magical, precious thing. And I think we had that. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you about two more, projects from your past. I hope that's okay. There's just some stuff that I'm a big fan of. One of my favorite movies of all time is 5 Easy Pieces.
Oh, I love that
Bob
movie
Rafelson film with Jack Nicholson, where you play his sister. It's visceral.
Yes,
that film.
it is.
It is, and it's an incredible performances all the way around.
Yeah.
What was it like working on that film with Nicholson? How much did you guys stick to the script?
Oh, yes, we did. It was really fun. I often think of it. Bob Rafelson had directed Jack Nicholson before in one of his, I guess in Easy Rider, yeah.
Oh, no.
Easy Rider came not long before 5 Easy Pieces, and they had done that together. Right. And in 5 Easy Pieces, it was shot pretty much in continuity, so it started in the oil fields in the south, and then the trip up the coast, and then the house in the Pacific Northwest where it takes place. We actually kind of moved into that house. What they found as a location was and we literally, I got there a few days before some of the others, and it was really the sense of moving into the house. And then we all stayed in the same place, the cast and Bob, and every night we had dinner together around a big table in, I think it was a motel rather than a hotel, and talked about the day's work and about what might be on the next day and with differences. And it was so collegial and collaborative in the best way, which is one of the most wonderful things about being in, I think, theater or film. But it's often divided up into compartments and hierarchies, but this was not. And in film, it's easier to divide it up maybe than it is in the theater, where everybody's alive at the same moment together. That was a great... did we stick to a script? Yes, indeed, we did. I guess sometimes when it feels like the words are improvised, you think they are, but no, they were not.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that feels incredibly natural,
Yeah.
And last thing from your past that we'll talk about here is I was just shown a clip of you and James Dean in a chemistry test. It's on YouTube. It's unbelievable.
Chemistry test, I love it.
Well, tell me what it actually was.
No, that's probably it.
Elia Kazan had the two of you sort of stand there and just kind of move around each other and hug and nuzzle noses and kisses you on the cheek.
I think that when you say chemistry test, I'm sure it wasn't a screen test. We were both there. We were probably improvising, and he was looking at different ways of even processes to use. But it was kind of an improvise of the scene what we ended up doing, and perhaps he learned things while he was putting us through this. I saw it the other day. I've seen pieces of this, but this one I hadn't seen. It's very strange.
And this was East of Eden. Was this your first movie?
Yes.
And you're with Elia Kazan and James Dean. And was East of Eden James Dean? It wasn't James Dean's first movie yet,
yes,
was it?
It was. It was.
So he was fairly unknown at this point.
That's right, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was that like? What was Jimmy Dean like?
He was so good. That's the main thing. What, don't you think? I think so.
Oh, absolutely.
He was
also very handsome.
And very handsome. And very charismatic, and a really good actor. And
Elia, what was it like working with Elia Kazan? He's a legend.
He is indeed, and his work with actors is so intimate and sets things up so something will happen. I'm sure that's what was going on in this in this chemistry test, I think.
Was it one of those type of things where the director tells you to try to do the scene without words, and then
You know,
what
I
can...
actually don't remember.
Fair enough.
I don't think so, but I don't remember. I would imagine he was speaking to us while we were doing that, and that you don't hear that on the, that's what I think, but I'm not sure. Right. It's a long time ago.
No, I know. I can't really test you on this material. Let's get some questions from the audience. Who has a question right here?
Hi. So I was wondering, since he plays your son in the movie, how was it working with John Hamm?
Plays her husband.
Oh, husband. Oh.
Yeah.
My husband. Yes, we're a couple. Again, I've been really lucky. He's a lovely person, and he arrived on the set with a clarity, a preparation. So it's nothing but a joy to work together, because he's both a wonderful actor and there's no static. It's really there, present, wonderful.
Everyone's quite present in the film, and everyone is also delivering very delicate performances. Gina Davis's performance, in her final scenes in the film, her final scenes in the film, without giving anything away, is really haunting and beautiful. And the way that Almereyda shoots her from the top, looking down on her, so articulate and smart. I don't have a question. I just love it so much.
I do too. And the men are, Tim Robbins is the other man. A lovely performance, really.
Heartbreaking.
The characters are so good. I mean, this is what comes from the writer. There they are. They're really good. Yeah.
Let's get another question from the audience right here.
Hi, Lois. So you've done a lot of TV and film and some plays. Do you have a preference for any of those, or do you find one to be more rewarding or more fun?
I'm really lucky to have been able to do all. When I began professionally in the theater in the 50s, New York was filled with live television, drama, not just sitcoms, but plays filmed on television every week, many of them. But within my first job was a Broadway play. Within the first couple of years, was doing both television shows, and East of Eden was my first movie. So I was able to start professionally with all and continue through all these decades doing them all. Very fortunate situation. I feel very lucky. Yes, I guess the theater would finally have to be my favorite, because one does an entire work. You do it together. You build it together. Rehearsal is a wonderful time. And after you've built it together, you give it away to the people who are right there. And that's nothing like it, There are other pleasures in the other media, but I think I'd have to say that's the favorite. Yeah.
I think we have time for one more question right here.
Hello, thank you for being here. So what was the biggest challenge that you ever faced in your career?
Biggest
challenge you ever faced in your career?
I've had such a fortunate career that it's, in a certain way, my good luck to be able to think more of the good fortune and of the, So I guess your question makes me think of something I'd read that Laurence Olivier said, that the important thing is to endure. I guess you show up and you endure. So that's everybody's challenge. Maybe that's really not what you're asking. What's mine? You know what? It's maybe trying to be the whole person who is both entirely engaged in the work of being an actor and all that involves, both in the art of it and the existence of it, without letting go of the rest of life, which is easy to do when anything is consuming. I'm sure it's not simply being an actor. And again, I've been fortunate, and I'm sure I've made horrid stumbles and screwed up parts of my and other people's lives, but I have been able to have a professional life and a personal life. So maybe that's it, yeah.
How do you think you were able to sort of hold on to a personal life in the midst of a very public professional life?
Well, I'm sure the main thing is that I think I was raised with stability and continuity. So I probably ended up without a lot of hurdles and fears that one can easily grow up with. That's probably part of it. I married very young. I have one child who's now grown, and I have 3 grandchildren who are all themselves young adults. And I've had my marriage ended, and I've had another long relationship. And those are nothing to compare with a long, intimate relationship, I think. So.
Have your grandchildren watched any of your work?
Oh yes, indeed they have.
What is that like? What is that like to have grandkids that see you in films with James Dean or Jack Nicholson or go to your plays?
They haven't seen so much of old stuff. I don't think they're particularly. Oh, they have seen East of Eden. I know. Maybe not on the big screen though. Probably.
They go for Twister.
They go for what's current. Mostly, I think so. But yes, they have watched. I know they have watched some, probably DVDs of old stuff, and they come to see plays. And one of my granddaughters is going to be there Friday night when we open at the Quad. My daughter came. She wasn't able to come Friday night, so she's coming. She came last night to a screening at the Screen Actors Guild Foundation had. And that was lovely to have her there. It made me remember, I was talking to her about it yesterday, when, because this event reminded me, many years ago, 5 Easy Pieces opened at, I think it was 1970 probably, at the New York Film Festival, and my daughter came with me that evening, and we were sitting, as I remember, in what's one of the Lincoln Center theaters. We were sitting in a box, kind of, and I remember walking down, because I guess we went to the stage for a Q&A, and I remember thinking, I didn't know how to feel, because it was the first time I'd felt, I know what opening night is like. You finished the play, and then, okay, now there's a party, but I hadn't been doing this. I've been sitting there, and now it's opening night, and I remember that startled the first time that occurred to me, or that I experienced it. So, and Moon was with me as a young kid, and I suddenly thought, here she was yesterday in my apartment, and she was going down to see it, and I was going to show up later for the Q&A, and I thought about that long ago night.
You took her to 5 Easy Pieces at the New York Film Festival. Wonderful! Yeah. What a wonderful night for a child. That sounds incredible.
Yeah.
Lois, it's an honor to talk to you. Thank you so much for being here. Marjorie Prime comes into theaters this Friday in New York and LA, correct?
Yes, to the Quad Theater on 13th Street.
And for people,
it's a little indie, so it's not going to be all over town, but go see it.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And for people in New York or who are coming to New York, they can see you on the stage soon as well, right?
I'm going to do 2 plays, one next spring at the New Group, and one the following very early fall at Playwrights Horizons. Yeah.
Lois Smith, everybody. Thank you so much, Lois.
Thank you.